Nintendo doesn't need third-party support. They really don't. And honestly, I don't know if they ever have. If you think about Nintendo, your mind is typically going to go or run across a number of franchises, most notably Super Mario. When you combine all of the Super Mario spin offs, all of the different adaptations of Mario across all of Nintendo's platforms, Nintendo's probably sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 900 million Mario games of some sort, going all the way back to Mario Bros, Super Mario Land, Mario Kart, Mario Odyssey, Mario 64. You think about all the different adaptations of Mario, Nintendo has probably sold 900 million units of Mario games over their lifetime. So there's no doubt that Mario has been the bedrock of Nintendo's gaming success. But there are also other franchises that your mind will turn to when you think about Nintendo. Also within that top 10 will probably be The Legend of Zelda. The Legend of Zelda goes all the way back as well into the 80s and has been a hallmark of Nintendo franchise games, from The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, all the way up to now, where we have games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and the new Legend of Zelda that's coming out. I mean, if you just combine these two franchises alone, you're talking about billions of units moved. And then we don't even need to get into the Donkey Kong franchise, right? Because Donkey Kong, in and of itself, when you start to think about just the cultural impact of Donkey Kong, when you think about the Donkey Kong tournaments in the arcades, going all the way back again into the 80s, what we saw Donkey Kong become on the Super Nintendo with Donkey Kong Country 2, and Donkey Kong Country 3. Then we got Donkey Kong 64. And now we're super excited about this highly anticipated Donkey Kong Bonanza. And the Bananergy is through the roof when you start to think about Donkey Kong and this new iteration into the franchise. So again, we're talking about billions of units moved. But there is one franchise that I think Nintendo uh, has that has actually future proofed the company. And if they never get another third party developer to support them, they might be able to coast off of this one franchise. And that was when we saw the introduction of Pokemon. So behind Super Mario and all things in the Mario universe, the next best-selling franchise for Nintendo, believe it or not, is the Pokemon franchise, having sold close to 500 million units of varying Pokemon games, from the Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow series, which we initially saw. Then you have the Gold and Silver, and then it goes on and on and on to the DS, the 3DS. Then we've got it on the, obviously we have the GameCube adaptations, the N64 adaptations, and Pokemon Stadium. And now we're on Violet and Scarlet. And these will not be the last that we see of the Pokemon games. Pokemon will continue to proliferate the Nintendo library, no matter what platform you're playing Nintendo on, or Nintendo games on, I should say. Pokemon will always be there, and it has become as much of a substantial and needed member of the Nintendo family as games like Mario and Zelda. Because believe it or not, more units of Pokemon games have actually sold than Zelda games when you combine all of the Pokemon games together. And it's pretty amazing because Pokemon still to this day remains culturally relevant, because Pokemon is able to exist off of this weird looping cycle of enthusiasts. Because if people aren't enthused about Pokemon, the trading cards, then they're enthused about the Pokemon games that they play on their consoles. And then once the hype for that dies down, then there's some new mobile Pokemon game that you're able to play on your cell phone, right? And then the loop continues. Then somehow it loops back to Pokemon cards, right? And now all of a sudden, there's this very rare and expensive Pokemon card that sells for $10 million. And now we've got people running into Target, running into Walmart, and fighting old ladies for booster packs of Pokemon cards in hopes that they'll strike it rich as if they're playing the lotto to win a $5 million card, which we know 9 times out of 10 will never ever happen. But I guess it's just the euphoria, it's the hype, it's the tulip syndrome, if you will, that makes people go to that. And then when they're tired of that, then they go back to the games. And I think it's because of this, because of Nintendo's significant investment and concentration into these franchises: Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, Pokemon. It's the reason why Nintendo doesn't necessarily need the third party support. Now, of course, they're going to take it. Of course, they're going to be able to reach a larger base of video gamers, and they'll be able to sell more units by participating with third party game creators. But honestly, they're doing pretty well within their own ecosystem. And we haven't even spoken about other games in their franchise like Kirby or Super Metroid, right? Other franchises that people just love Nintendo for and turn to them for. And I'm not a hater of Nintendo, but I find myself really enjoying more of the older Nintendo stuff. I really do love the old stuff from Nintendo, probably because I was a child in that era, and I do miss that era to a large part. But I have to say that with where Nintendo's at now, they've built such a substantial customer base and a loyal fan base and people who will always want to play these franchises, that I think it's pretty tough to see anything really surpassing what they've done with these franchises here. And so because of that, I think that's the reason why we don't see them putting a lot of energy and attention into making their cartridges more available to third-party game developers. As you already know, the big issue with the key card is that a lot of third-party developers are going the key card route because either they can go with a very small cartridge that I think only has 2 gigs of memory on it or data on it, or they can go with the 64 gig cart. And I did say in one of my other videos, I think I had mentioned that Cyberpunk 77 or 2077, or the Cyberpunk game, I think I had mentioned that that was a keycard game. That actually isn't a keycard game. That game is actually completely on the Nintendo cartridge, but I feel like that was done more so to prove to gamers that, hey, we can have a game this big on a single cart. But in order to do that, you have to have a 64 gig cart, and not many game developers are going to need a cartridge with that size to put their games onto it. Most games probably would be good with 16 gigs, maybe 32 gigs of storage, but not 64. And so this is the issue with the key card, and why we're probably not going to see a lot of third-party games fully on Nintendo Switch 2 carts, which is a big deal for a lot of physical collectors, including myself. But time will tell. Things can change. That is something that can change depending on how the general public reacts to this development with Nintendo, and only time will tell, and we'll have to see where they go from there. But you guys let me know, do you need third-party games on your Nintendo consoles, or are the first-party titles enough for you to say, I'm gonna buy this Nintendo console? I'm interested to know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I will catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.